Hey, it's David, and I thought it would be a great idea for me to get you guys caught up on where we are with our new barn build. We will have continuous videos going forward with the process and progress that we're making doing the build. We have several stacks of wood. I was fortunate, and I'm not smart enough, but smart enough to actually have purchased pretty much all the lumber and sheet goods that we need for the barn build back in early December when the prices were not astronomically high. So they've gone up quite a bit obviously since then, and I'm very thankful that I was able to buy most every piece of lumber that we need for a barn build. So here is our current site. Up here on the top left we have our large retaining wall. There's a middle wall, and then on the lower part our third wall. And let's just go through and talk about each one of these and what their purpose is. So first thing is, our first wall that we built is actually a 7-course wall. It's about 30 feet long, or just shy of 30 feet long. It does need to hold up this road behind us, and so this road here is I'm 5'10". This road is clearly about 7 feet tall, but it was never actually any you know, the dirt that was actually here was never any lower or higher than about here. So this is, again, a 7-course wall, you know, 4.5, almost 5 feet tall. And you can see that it does need to hold back quite a bit of the road here, but not a huge amount. And so there was a little bit of engineering that had to go into place to make this work. First thing is, we did add in 2 pilasters, and these pilasters are structural, and they're basically doubled up block that then get filled, and they do alternate, which you can see here. And we have a couple of end walls we put in. Now this is going to be a doorway here, so that's why we have the end wall doesn't go all the way across. And truth be told, I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do these 2 corners and how the doors are going to meet up, but we're going to figure that out when we get there. So all in all, this is actually going to hold back this road and the dirt behind it. And so this is a structural wall. I had to do a lot of math and calculations to make sure that I had enough mass to prevent not only slide but overturning, and part of that was done by offsetting the wall. So in the front here, our wall is set back about 4 inches approximately. The pilasters have a little more space because I wasn't sure what I needed there. But on the back side, it's quite a bit wider, or quite a bit more offset. And I've already started to backfill, so I do have a video to show you that process, or what that looks like, and digging out the footers, getting everything lined up and ready to go. Again, all of our voids are being filled, and this particular wall is going to get a standard framed wall. All of our framing in the building, as far as the second floor goes, is all going to be standard 2x6, 24 on centers, so not 16s, but 24 on center. That'll give us plenty of space for insulation, and use a little bit less lumber, yet still providing a good, strong wall structure. So these are all going to get just bolted down. These are every 4 feet, I believe. This wall is full of rebar every 36 inches. And then there's also a bond row as well at the top. The footer for our big wall here is a solid 24 inches wide, front to back. These sides here are about 18 inches or so. And it is a solid 8 inches thick, with 2 rows of rebar running the lengthwise, and then every foot there's a perpendicular rebar running front to back to help with the overturning and structure of that. So again, this is a real retaining wall, and again, I had done a lot of math to make sure that I had the structure that I needed to make sure it could hold back the load behind it. And thankfully, that is not, it's done a little bit of settling, but it's not like it's collapsing or anything. So our second and third wall are more or less identical. There's only a little difference here in the second wall. We did have this come out a little further. We may be putting like an awning or an overhang above, and we wanted some sort of support for that. So this may have a post going up to it, as well as it does have smaller little walls jetting out here. Both this wall and the lower wall are both 5 courses. This particular one, since most of it is the weight pushing down, although it does hold back some dirt, so don't get me wrong, and we've backfilled most of it, not all the way but pretty close. It is offset, but not offset as much. Still the 4 inches in the front, but I think we've got about 6 or 8 inches on the back that is weighted down ultimately by the gravel and the dirt backfill that's going to go in. Again, 5 courses. This wall currently has not been filled. The voids have not been filled or grouted, and we will be doing that very soon. The weather's finally changing our direction, so we can finally get that all done. All the concrete we've mixed ourselves. We did not purchase bags, nor did we get a truck in, and the reason is our driveway is very steep, and I would have had to pay about $700 for every one of the pours, even though I only needed 2 to not even 3 yards at a time, and it was going to be really expensive to do it that way. So what we have is each footer was poured separately, and then we're just pouring the voids in the wall as we get time and the weather permits. So our final wall, this one we actually just completed. It is also pretty much identical to the wall above it, except there is no small pony wall sticking out or anything. You can see that this has collapsed a little bit, not terribly, but this is all fill. So I'm not surprised this collapsed. I just finished doing all this parging and everything a couple of weeks ago, and that video you'll actually see here in a couple of days. So it does need to be obviously redug out and then fill it with rock, etc. But I'm going to wait and do that until we get this filled, because I don't want any issues whatsoever with backfill and pressure against it and having any problems. So again, this is rebar, and there is a bond row just like normal. I have all these 2x6s up here simply so that I can just try and prevent some of the rain and the snow getting in, but now that we're done with the snow, we should be fine. But here we go. So here's our rebar, and then you might be able to make out the bond row going through as well. And these 2 walls are going to have posts on top of them, so it's going to be more of a post frame for this part of it. Most of the lower part is going to be all post frame building, and those are going to get built up columns, and you'll see that again in a future video. It won't be too far off, maybe in a couple of weeks, we hope. And then the floor is going to go on, and then it will be standard framing for the second floor, Airbnb space, etc. So the bottom part, the barn part, is going to be mostly post frame. The top second floor is going to be mostly stick framed. As far as stacking and building our walls, all the walls were built using a dry stack method, and the dry stack method was chosen very specifically because I thought, well, I've got 500-600 block that I have to lay, and although by the time I'm done with it, I'll probably be pretty good at mortaring it all in. But for the first wall, which is the one that we did up at the top, I didn't want to make some mess out of my good need to have a good, strong retaining wall, because I wasn't very good at laying block. I had learned about surface bonding cement from a guy who built the house, is a structural engineer, and so I was fortunate to be able to ask him quite a few questions about what I needed to do and if what I was doing was strong enough. And thankfully it passed his opinion with flying colors. But he had talked to me a while ago about surface bonding cement, and we'd used it to do a repair on part of the house. And so I thought it'd be really easy to go through, stack all the block, and parge, the front, the back, and the sides of it. And I would have a structural wall that, according to their testing, is stronger than mortar, number one, and number two is it's also waterproof. And since I need to backfill these, I didn't want to have to tar them or put in some sort of additional backfilling in it, surface protection on it in addition to what I'd already done. And I've seen this before. People will go and do the plaster bit, and I think that's great, but then they have to go back through and cover it with some sort of waterproofing membrane or something on top of that, where surface bonding cement gives you all that all at once. Now, I will admit that it doesn't go on as nice as plaster. It is a little bit different. And again, there's a video coming out. You'll see how that all works. But it actually is pretty easy to do. And I think in the grand scheme of things, it came out pretty darn well. Thankfully, the only wall, which is the lower wall we were just at, just that one side is going to be visible all the time. The rest of the walls are pretty much covered up, so it's not going to matter as much. Anyway, so that's the reason why we chose the surface bonding cement, so that we would get all the effects that we need without doing some additional work. Again, I think it turned out pretty well. And again, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you watching the video. Hopefully you're going to be able to stick around and watch some of our other videos as they start coming out later on. And the best way to do that is hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so that you'll be able to get notifications when the new videos come out regarding our barn build. But again, we're homestead, so we also have our garden projects going on, our high tunnel projects, woodworking projects, house renovations, etc. So it's kind of a mixed bag of living on a homestead and having all these projects going on at once, because that's the way it works on a homestead. Unfortunately, we're not able to and cannot afford to pay people to do all this work, so we get to do it ourselves when we have time to do it. So again, thanks for watching. Hopefully you'll be able to stick around and watch some of the other videos, and have a great day.